Story 1. If you ask a question that has an actual answer, you will receive many insightful and complete responses. If you ask a question where the answer is subjective or requires analysis, you will encounter an endless stream of fake experts, pathological liars, and uninformed people posing as knowledgeable while they argue and bicker about how their opinions are absolute truths. Meanwhile, the only way someone could disagree is if they are either unaware or malicious. The most common cliché that defines an internet fool is that they spend 5 minutes skimming summaries and then start speaking as if they have a doctoral degree on the subject. Story 2. For me, it's how Reddit has changed over the last few years. It has always been full of basement dwellers, but it used to be self-aware and contrarian. It was edgy. Hypocrisy was the ultimate sin. Now it feels like everyone is trying to win a morality contest. People post for validation and actually get it. Dissent is treated like aggression. Wit is treated like cruelty. It is also performatively earnest. So many fragile, humorless approval seekers spouting therapy speak and high-fiving each other for agreeing on everything. Story 3. The Echo. The everybody with a different opinion is a Nazi attitude. People from other countries complaining about American events that do not affect their lives. The hate and intolerance while being ironically hateful and intolerant. When a good question or post appears on a serious topic, the top comment does not address the topic but sidesteps it with humor. Story 4. The lack of recourse when being banned from subreddits is frustrating. The subjective enforcement of rules with no real ability to appeal is the worst part of this platform. Evading permanent bans is also infuriating. I had an account banned from a subreddit for minor reasons, and almost a year later, I used a new account to post in the same subreddit, having completely forgotten about my previous ban. The entire account was banned, and I had to start over again. Story 5. Reddit is just as foolish and gullible as the older generation they criticize. I still see certain concepts and ideas that have long been debunked or highly exaggerated being posted as if they are the absolute truth. There is a very thin difference between Reddit and a chain letter. Story 6. There is a particular advertisement that keeps appearing in my Reddit feed that I cannot get rid of. I reported it multiple times, but it keeps showing up regardless. It is about a dating application which I do not even know why it is there, but it shows a woman in underwear. Do you know how to block a particular advertisement? Story 7. Question. Bakers of Reddit. How does it feel to bake bread? Answer. I'm not a baker myself, but my coworker once sat on a plane next to a guy whose brother was married to a baker, and he said that baking bread is kind of cool. Edit 1. Wow, 100 responses that escalated. Edit 2. Wow. Thank you for 127 responses. Edit 3. Wow. Thank you for the Reddit award, kind stranger. Story 8. The part where I come here to relax and suddenly it is 3 hours later and I have learned nothing except random cat facts. Story 9. Ask for advice, get judged. Ask for opinions, get downvoted. Ask nothing, scroll for 3 hours and leave emotionally exhausted. Story 10. A question is asked, especially one you are curious to know the answer to. The first comment is a joke, followed by hundreds of replies that are spin-offs of the joke. Story 11. The bots, trolls, agitators, and the spineless power-tripping moderators cultivate an environment that specifically caters to bots, trolls, and agitators. Story 12. That my post got deleted and I do not know why, but it is gone. I do not know if other people can see it or not, but I hope they can. I like Reddit still. I do not think there is much to hate. Maybe people can sometimes be mean, but that is all of the internet and not just on Reddit. People are mean everywhere, but hopefully not too mean here. I am excited to be here with the new account. Story 13. Echo chambers are everywhere. Stubborn, rude, and hostile people who cannot handle different opinions resort to childish insults, passive-aggressive retorts, and downvote bombing. Unreasonable moderators. Story 14. It leans a little too far left as a whole, so I feel many users do not share their honest opinions for fear of being overwhelmed, preventing a real discussion. Story 15. It is pretty annoying how petty and hateful some extremists on both sides of liberals on Reddit can be. Do not get me wrong, I support Democrats and Republicans coexisting. However, some people are a real killjoy when they try to bring politics into everything, attacking right-wing views, or downvoting anything that does not fit their echo chamber. I am not saying all liberals do this, but there is a certain type of petty downvoters that I cannot stand. Story 16. I really like Reddit. I used to get, and still do at times, a lot of enjoyment from being on my phone, watching videos of girls and Instagram influencers, and playing video games. Content from these sources was the main thing that occupied my attention in a way that felt effortless. However, nowadays, perhaps due to less engaging content or something different with me, I browse Reddit, Instagram, and the internet, listen to music, and play games. Most of the time, except when listening to music, I find it tiresome or anxiety-inducing that my attention does not stay on the content or that I am not entertained as I used to be by video games, Instagram influencers, and videos of girls. I wish I could find content that consistently holds my attention and interest, and that I find extremely enjoyable, so that this anxiety about being on my phone without anything truly engaging goes away for good. Story 17. Seeking to assert intellect by criticizing the information and beliefs of others, and to claim superiority by insulting and speaking down to others is much more important than community or exchanging information. I recently posted some inaccurate nutritional information at a grocery store to the mildly infuriating forum. I received 3 main responses over several hours. I photoshopped it and obviously misrepresented it for user approval. I did not, and proved so. I am stupid and the information is accurate. It was not, very obviously. I am stupid for thinking the information should be accurate and that I should rely on myself rather than anyone in person or online. If not online or in person, how am I supposed to be informed to make my own conclusion? I am stupid for being so angry and irrational. I was not. I posted to a forum about being a little annoyed. Insulting and criticizing was much more important than just seeing a simple post and saying, "Yeah, that's wrong. That is annoying." Story 18. You could post the most harmless thing in the most harmless subreddit, and someone will come out aggressively to make you feel bad. Story 19. The pedantic behavior where someone will nitpick a post over a tiny detail that was not phrased exactly correctly. Story 20. You get downvoted for asking a question to understand someone's opinion better. Your objective is to learn more, but they interpret it as you being an enemy. Story 21. I am hating myself here. One day, I saw a post on a subreddit. The person asked what he should do in the last 24 hours of his life. I wrote a comment, "Farm karma." Story 22. I joined in 2010. It used to be a place where you could have civil discourse. There was a sense of community. If you liked a post or comment, you bought Reddit Gold and awarded it. There are bots everywhere. There is censorship everywhere. There are advertisements everywhere. There are posts designed to look normal but are advertisements. The only gilded posts I see are political ones. Subreddits get banned for being unmoderated, even when they have a dedicated moderation team. I could go on. Story 23. 1. Polite disagreement is almost unheard of. You have to sort through half a page of clever answers before you get to a real one. The same questions get asked 12 times a month. People post things just to upset others and sometimes even admit to it. Story 24. One of my biggest annoyances is when comments are turned off after only one day. You know you can turn notifications off. You do not have to silence people. Story 25. Not that it affects my life in the slightest, but getting downvoted because someone does not share the same opinion. I have seen the smallest things get downvoted to a large degree and never really understood why. Story 26. It is hard for me to post in many places without receiving inappropriate messages in direct messages afterward. By inappropriate messages, I mean going straight from hello to sending explicit pictures, telling me what they want to do to me, or asking if I would like to meet up, even though I could be halfway across the world. When they break rules, such as these behaviors or other more obnoxious ones, I report them, but they usually only receive a warning. It feels like a slap on the wrist for sexual harassment. Story 27. Getting immediately and permanently banned on any subreddit with no chance of reinstatement. No demerit points. No chance to try again. Basically follows you for life. You are not allowed to open another account either. Story 28. People get downvoted for saying something true, but people get offended because the truth exposes how insecure they are. Story 29. So many things, but the blatant hypocrisy is one of them. I was downvoted for arguing with someone who said, "Any woman can get pregnant. It's our purpose." And I argued that was disgusting. I was also downvoted for saying that giving birth requires mental and physical strength. I dared to say it was wrong to tell a pregnant woman that giving birth doesn't make her special when she was literally in therapy while depressed and pregnant. Apparently, giving birth doesn't mean anything, and it's something any woman can do. There are also many people who get angry at women for daring to be upset that their husbands neglect their children. Additionally, my post can be removed without even being told what I did wrong. Story 30. The moderators. We are required to be polite and civil or we get banned. Moderators can be verbally abusive and then handle the reports you file against them, so there is no accountability. I recently got banned from the Guns subreddit for this very reason. Story 31. Asking a genuine question and receiving negative feedback and unhelpful responses that do not answer the question at all. Story 32. Lack of reading comprehension occurs when you ask a simple question and get berated without any response to the question asked. Do people read posts anymore or just skim and pick one word to rage about for no reason? For example, I asked in a local online forum about camping spots that are quiet during the holidays and have legal fire pits because I want to have a fire. If it is hard to find, I will camp without a fire. I then receive responses from some users writing long comments about fires in the summer, out-of-control wildfires, and blaming me for the problem. I clearly stated I would camp without a fire if I cannot find campsites with legal fire pits. They ignore what I wrote and create their own narrative, attacking me personally. This happens whenever I post in a forum for advice or help. I have given up. I also get downvoted if I politely point out that they are cherry-picking from my post and still have not answered my question. Their comments often get upvoted by others who also do not read carefully. Story 33. Downvotes are used as a dislike or disagree button. These points are actually a direct measure of how seriously an opinion or viewpoint is taken. So repeated downvoting can discourage unpopular or dissenting opinions, leading to the formation of echo chambers. Story 34. I hate the number of people who allow themselves to be victimized because they are too spineless to stand up for themselves. Boo-hoo. My significant other abuses me, but I love him. For goodness sake, grow a pair and leave him. Do not ask the same thing in different subreddits every couple of months, and then ignore all the help and advice. I find it so frustrating. It is one of the reasons I stopped working directly with people. Animals make so much more sense to me. Story 35. The collective mindset vibes. But that is not new, everyone knows how it works here. Some people should lighten up and worry less about made-up internet points and picking fights. It is whatever. I keep coming back. Story 36. It is addictive. It appeals to my basic desires for social interaction in small portions, but there is no continuity. It consists of little thoughts and single-serving interactions, like a fast food hamburger versus a salad. It is enjoyable but not good for me. Just as fast food can make me physically ill in the long term, Reddit makes me mentally ill. Story 37. Nobody knows how to use the search bar before asking a question that has been asked 1,000 times before. Story 38. Echo chambers, strategic and tactical downvoting. Basically, you cannot say anything here without being downvoted. Be yourself, but only if you are just like everyone else here. Do not have differing opinions. American culture, their date and time format, their pseudo-units, their formatting of numbers and currency, everything. It is everywhere. It is like a plague. What bothers me the most is that non-Americans copy their culture too. Everyone should use international standards instead of formats used by only 4% of the population. Story 39. In many subreddit discussions, the controversial comments are the best ones. They do not conform to any radical extreme. Every subreddit seems to be taken over by one side or the other of the radical extremes and becomes an echo chamber. Story 40. The bots post content in subreddits where it does not belong. They repost in many subreddits and share numerous posts about Donald Trump. Story 41. Admitting you are wrong seems to result in negative reactions from others. Insisting you are right when you are wrong, especially in an aggressive manner, tends to receive more approval. Story 42. The same is true for other social media platforms. There is rarely conversation. If you have a differing opinion, it is seen as a personal attack. It is quite unfortunate. Story 43. Overly moderated and pedantically blocking free dialogue. Most likely because it is moderated and largely populated by middle-class, university-educated people who were radicalized left in university and thrive on control and being controlled. Story 44. How addictive it is. I look at Reddit almost every day. It really is not improving my life, mental health, or situation. Story 45. The karma system, getting downvoted for no reason all the time, ridiculous moderation of most of the subreddits, and the extreme toxicity of communities on most of the subreddits. Story 46. I create a witty post that I think is brilliant and can't help but upvote, but I say something random and foolish and it goes viral. Story 47. The groupthink of some subcultures, especially in metal music communities, is notable when they latch onto a few bands or albums. Story 48. You know how on Facebook or Instagram you can delete someone else's comments on your post or under your comment? Reddit needs to get with the program on that. Story 49. The censorship is unreasonable. Most topics that people are genuinely interested in reading replies to are removed in less than an hour. And the content is not even racist or offensive. Story 50. The default sorting is by best. This leads to a first-in, first-seen situation. This post and any others after the first hour or so will be too far down the scroll to be read by more than one or two people. Perhaps an artificial intelligence agent could sort comments into possible groupings, like a taxonomy, to make it easier to discover new and different ideas. Story 51. It seems like every time I post in almost any subreddit, my post gets removed for breaking some arbitrary rule. I finally gave up on submitting posts for the most part. Also, I dislike the new Reddit. Story 52. All the people who use every post about anything as a basis to start conflicts or to attack someone over a random issue. I also dislike those who state the obvious, such as, of course, not everyone's childhood was great. Who said it was? It's actually sad because if the only place you have a sense of power is Reddit, your life is problematic in ways that blaming others will never fix. People often talk about how alone they are, but few admit when it is their own fault due to their personally repulsive behavior. Story 53. Meaningless and duplicate posts are not helpful. I do not want to recommend what shoelaces a person should use on their sneakers or see a video reposted for the 30th time this month. Story 54. It is a platform that creates an environment where unpopular opinions are silenced. This is toxic. Have you ever heard that only a friend will tell you what you do not want to hear? The bigger problem is how many people use it and enable this behavior. I am not sure who created this or who sees it happening and lets it continue, but I think there is an agenda behind it. Sure, it is easy to say Reddit is a cesspit. Do not use it. If you do not like it, do not use it. However, that does not change the fact that this is a problem and is conditioning people to think this is the right way to handle things. It is not. When you block people, you are stunting your own growth as an individual. If you disagree, then speak your mind. Respect that other people have the right to speak theirs as well. Story 55. Lack of respect, especially if politics are involved or forced in, and how echo chamber-like it all is. You can also easily get sucked into scrolling for hours, leaving you mentally and emotionally drained. This is why I have a general dislike for social media, but I can admit that it is the only way to truly connect with others who share similar interests. Story 56. Almost every subreddit feels like Groundhog Day. People post the same questions and debate the same subjects repeatedly, and responders are always quick to take the bait. Story 57. The same questions are posted repeatedly along with the same responses. It makes me feel like I am living in the movie Groundhog Day. Story 58. Seeing the same posts repeatedly in the subreddits that I follow, knowing that the responses will be identical. Story 59. All the repetitive, meaningless comments people use to look cool, who knows? Examples: this, this is the way. What a terrible day to have eyes. And so on. All the dumb puns, song lyrics, and really bad jokes that ruin the post. Often, people are looking for genuine, insightful answers, but for some reason, these types of comments receive more upvotes than real ones that actually add something to the conversation. The only reason to comment like that is to get karma, which is pointless. Contribute something meaningful instead of just taking. Story 60. I am new to Reddit and still figuring out what I like or dislike about it. So far, I have seen a lot of interesting content and diverse opinions, which is great. However, I have noticed that some subreddits can be harsh with downvotes or sometimes toxic. I am exploring, learning, and getting familiar with how it works, so I am sure there is much more to discover. Story 61. The search feature, the moderation tools, the lack of user options to customize the interface, the bugs, and the difficulty in promoting or customizing subreddits you manage. Story 62. Important topics should not be derailed by semantics or arguments about who knew about the issue first. Story 63. People are too sensitive and want to criticize every little thing you say, and they cannot take a joke or understand sarcasm. Also, do not mention anything even remotely racist, even if it is completely true, or you will face severe backlash. Story 64. When any original poster shares a screenshot they took and edited themselves, then claims they do not remember anything about it, yet they use it for their latest post. Story 65. When you type r/, a menu pops up showing subreddits that start with what you typed. What I dislike is that this still happens in subreddits that forbid subreddit links, such as mildly infuriating. If the menu did not pop up, it would indicate that subreddit links are forbidden, and I would not include any. I posted in the help subreddit, and I was told it is just a feature of Reddit. Subreddits are not allowed to disable it. Why? Story 66. The victim blaming. You can post that you broke your neck in a car accident, and someone will say, "You drive? Why not bike or take a train, you lazy person?" Story 67. When you ask a question or an opinion on something and people tell you to search for it online, the search engine is not as good as it used to be. Story 68. Misuse of the downvote button is not a way to express disagreement. In my opinion, every Reddit user's first 5 downvotes should trigger a pop-up that makes them select the reason they are downvoting before it goes through. Off-topic, inflammatory, or hate speech violates rules, trolling, factually incorrect, or I disagree with it. If they select I disagree, they get a reminder about what downvotes are actually for. Story 69. Reddit est plein de modérateurs qui aiment jouer au dieu. Il est aussi rempli de trolls, des personnes stupides qui ne pensent pas avec leur cerveau. Le système de karma ainsi que les votes positifs et négatifs sont inutiles dans le monde réel. Story 70. Reddit is very left-leaning as opposed to X, which is mostly right-leaning. I think content is filtered, shunned, or banned if it does not align exactly with the leftmost points of view or politics. I dislike X for the same reasons, even if opposite. There is no reasonable debate on this platform or on X. To be fair, I am not aware of a platform that is truly centered. I only use Reddit for non-political content, such as reading funny comments on random subjects and answering questions, which helps with introspection. Story 71. Moderators who think they are gods block people without any explanation and refuse to explain what the person did to be banned. They tell people, "You know what you did," or "You have been warned enough times," when they do not. They refuse to believe they have the wrong person, even when the accused has never posted before, and then act unprofessionally about it. There seem to be many problematic moderators here. Story 72. Everything has to be so political. Post a completely unrelated question, and someone will bring specifically United States politics into it. Story 73. Bots, artificial intelligence stories, and stubborn people who post the same question in a subreddit that has been asked 675,483 times in a single day. Trolls I can handle. Story 74. I discover a subreddit dedicated to something nuanced I love. I join the subreddit, observe for a while, upvote everything, work up the nerve to contribute, offend the regular members with my existence, delete my contribution, and leave the group. It is unfortunate because it is cool to be part of a community and share interests. At least the cat subreddits are not elitist. Story 75. In many subreddits, the original idea of Reddit, that the opinion with the most matches will be the most upvoted, is undermined by politically influenced moderators who delete posts if the opinion does not align with their views. Story 76. Power-tripping subreddit moderators who will ban you even when you did not break any rules. Who is going to stop them? Otherwise, this place is all right. I have been on Twitter for the last couple of months, and that is why I am back here. Story 77. I hate that when you get your account, you cannot comment because you do not have enough karma. When you ask what to do, you are told you have to comment to get karma. But again, you cannot comment because you have no karma. It is infuriating. Story 78. The fact that freedom of opinion is suppressed by moderators and others is concerning. I thought we could share opinions to freely debate and understand different perspectives. But this is not the case if 1. You are not a fan of Giggly Squad. You point out obvious bigotry. You disagree with someone else's perspective. You consider the bigger picture and context, not just the words. Story 79. Many people who feel outcast and ridiculed throughout their lives have found others with similar experiences and have now come together to outcast and ridicule others. Story 80. People act like robots. Post a question. Moderators take it down. Ask why, they say read the rules. Okay, that's not an answer. What's the problem? Muted. Sometimes this happens as post a question, gets taken down. Hey, what's the problem? Muted. You make a good point and people get offended or disagree but don't have a reason. Ask what's the problem? Blocked. The problem is that this is becoming the way people interact with each other in general. Talk to each other. Ask questions. Answer questions. Story 81. There are more transgender adult content subreddits than transgender communities on this platform. I am mentioning transgender people specifically, but this issue applies to many other communities and individuals as well. Story 82. That everything is underrated. If everything is underrated, is anything? I would be interested to know why this got downvoted. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.